Hello, my name is Matthew, and happy Thanksgiving. Um, there are a few stories that I like to revisit every year. Certain stories that um, I just keep going back to year after year, and this time of year, this season, this autumn season, um, always makes me want to read Truman Capote. I find him to be a very autumnal author, especially his short stories, his early short stories. And two that I read every year without fail would be Thanksgiving Visitor and A Christmas Memory. And this year, I reread Thanksgiving Visitor, and this year was special. I got to read the story with a friend of mine, a dear friend. We read it over the phone together, which was very nice. And it's an autobiographical story. The narrator just feels like Truman Capote, a young, articulate, smart, shy, strange man, young boy, and it begins with this narrator telling us about a bully, a schoolyard bully who would relentlessly pick on him, and we um, learn about this bully. His name is Odd Henderson, so he has a very odd name, and the Henderson family, so Odd Henderson's camp of family members. We learn all about them, and they're poor and maybe misunderstood, but they're rough, tough, an intimidating group of people in the neighborhood. And then we learn about the narrator's home and where he lives, and they are a little bit better off than the Henderson family. They're not rich, but they're doing much better. And there's a whole cast of really interesting, funny family members. And our narrator is closest to this woman, Miss Sook, who is an older woman. Now it's his aunt, and they have Miss Sook has a little dog, Queenie, a rat terrier, and the narrator, the little boy, and Miss Sook just really get along, and they're friends. There's no age barrier. The older woman has a very young heart, and our young boy is on the same wavelength, and he just enjoys her company. And Thanksgiving is coming up, and the family invites all of the relatives that live in the area. The story is set in the early 20th century in the American South. So it has a feeling of quietness and calm, and in a lot of ways, this um, bubbled little world has all the spirit of innocence and childhood wonder. And there's Thanksgiving coming up, and the family is getting ready for it. And um, our narrator, the young boy, and Miss Sook have their own preparations. And um, he tells Miss Sook about this bully, and he fears of going to school every day because he'll get picked on and beat up and bullied and all of those things. And Miss Sook finally says that she's going to put on her hat and put on her dress and her coat and go over to the Henderson house and invite that boy over for a Thanksgiving Day meal. And our narrator just is aghast and appalled and stunned, and just thinks that this is some sort of mean-spirited prank that his dear old friend Miss Sook would pull on him. But she's serious. She says the reason you don't like this boy and the reason you two don't get along is that you don't know each other. And our narrator decides, well, I don't have to worry. There's even if she goes over there and invites him, and even if his mother agrees, there's no way he's coming over. They may be poor, they may be rough and tough and all of those things, but it's not a family that accepts charity. And he's going to know that this is um, an invitation from charity, that they're not going to have as nice of a meal as um, the meal that our family members are going to be having. And so he doesn't worry about it. He is sick from school for a few days, so he has this reprieve from having to deal with Odd Henderson, and just knows that there's no way he's coming to this Thanksgiving affair. And we get the descriptions of Thanksgiving Day and all the relatives and family members arriving, and friends, and the different kind of vehicles that are pulling up, and um, we just meet this whole big party of people. And eventually, Odd Henderson arrives, and our narrator is kind of um, off kilter about this, and he's surprised and bewildered and afraid, and he runs to Miss Sook and says that Odd Henderson is here, and she says they go back and forth, and she says, we haven't even said hello. Go out there and say hello. You are he is your guest. And while all this is going on, there's another relative singing at a piano. And Odd Henderson, we learn, is a good singer. And he, through coercion, he was coerced to get up and sing. And he does a good job. And our narrator gets upset about this and goes off to an isolated little nook in the house to pout. And while he's pouting, he spies Odd Henderson going through the halls, and he watches him steal Miss Sook's brooch. He goes in and he pockets this little piece of jewelry, and he puts it hidden away in his clothing. And he keeps silent. He doesn't say anything. And they all finally sit down for the big Thanksgiving Day dinner. And the man of the house, the father of the house, says a prayer. And everybody says amen. And our narrator takes this opportunity to shout out and exclaim that Odd Henderson is a thief and that he stole a brooch from Miss Sook. And the table goes silent. Miss Sook says, he's teasing. Say that you are teasing and you don't mean what you're saying. And he goes, no, he's stolen. And the father of the household says, Miss Sook, go in your room and check. Then we'll know. Miss Sook comes back out after checking and says, our narrator didn't tell the truth. The brooch is still there and nothing was stolen. And very quickly Odd Henderson says, no, I did steal it. And he presents the brooch and he gets up to leave. The father of the house says to our little boy, the narrator, you can be excused too. And he feels betrayed and abandoned. Miss Sook took the side of Odd Henderson, his rival, his schoolyard bully, took his side instead of his, and he has all of these fantasies about maybe running away to Hollywood and becoming a success. His dark thoughts about killing himself, and that'll show them. Finally, he just goes off outside and sulks. A while later, Miss Sook comes out and finds him with the little dog, Queenie, the rat terrier. And they have a conversation. And it's this beautiful life lesson. It's the kind of lesson that you teach children, and it's the kind of lesson that as an adult um, is at least good to be constantly reminded of. And I want to read the conversation between Miss Sook and this little boy. I think it's just so touching. Let's see. Where is it? Right, I lost my place. Here we go. God. Okay, sorry about that. There's just this I want to say, Buddy. Our little boy's name is Buddy. Two wrongs never made a right. It was wrong of him to take the brooch, but we don't know why he took it. Maybe he never meant to keep it. Whatever his reason, it can't have been calculated. Which is why what you did was much worse. You planned to humiliate him. It was deliberate. Now listen to me, Buddy. There is only one unpardonable sin: deliberate cruelty. All else can be forgiven. That, never. Do you understand? Do you understand me, Buddy? There's only one unpardonable sin: deliberate cruelty. He planned on humiliating this little boy. Really touching, heartfelt. There's a nice lesson that's good to always be reminded of. And I read it every year. I love it. And I've already made a video about this, so if I remember, I'll leave a link to the other one. But let me know if you've read this story, if you enjoy any other Truman Capote stories, or if there are certain books or short stories or certain authors that you like to revisit every year, or even certain stories or authors that remind you of a certain season, the way that those great big Russian novels just feel right in those long winter nights, that kind of evocation. So again, happy Thanksgiving, and thank you, and leave a comment if you would like, and thank you for watching. Take care.